I got a question the other day on LinkedIn about what advice I would give to someone trying to break into software engineering, and I thought this could be a good topic for a video since other people might be interested. In this video, I'm going to discuss about the different tracks that you can take into software engineering. Then I'm going to focus on the option that I think is the best one, and that is web development. We're going to look into the skills that you need to learn, different options that you have for learning these skills, and then we're going to discuss about the first steps that you can take in order to start getting paid. If you enjoy this content and you want to support the channel, please like and subscribe. Thanks. Before we begin, I want to mention that I got into software engineering for the traditional path. I did a bachelor's in computer science, then I moved to United States 9 years ago. And since then, I worked for big companies in Silicon Valley for Facebook, Twitter, then a small startup. And in the past 6 months, I've been doing freelancing. During my 3 jobs, I was part in hiring committees and I interviewed many candidates, and I think this experience will be relevant for this video. First, let's discuss the type of work that you can do as a software engineer. The first category is paid work, and you can have a job for a company, so you can be a full-time, part-time, a contract. Another option is being a freelancer. So you can work on platforms such as Upwork, Fiverr, or you can have local clients that refer you to other businesses through word of mouth. And the third option would be being an entrepreneur. So this doesn't mean that you are going to write the next publicly traded tech company, but you can do smaller things such as apps and games for Apple, for iPhone App Store, or for Android, or you can have plugins for WordPress that you then sell for subscriptions, or you can have your software as a service. Of course, you sell it for subscriptions again. And the second category is unpaid, and you can do passion projects for fun. You can work with artificial intelligence libraries, you can program robots that move around the house, etc. Or you can contribute to open source projects. For example, you want a better email client for Linux, then you can start contributing to an existing one or create your own. And actually, if you do open source, this can help you get a job if you want to. But in this video, I'm only going to focus on jobs and freelancing. Next, let's discuss the interviewing process, at least in the companies I worked for. So first of all, education. When I was interviewing people, I don't remember looking at where they graduated or if they have a bachelor's degree or not. Now, if you don't have a bachelor's degree and the company has a specific policy, maybe recruiters will filter you out. I'm not sure. But I know that some companies such as Google now have an explicit policy that degrees are not important, and probably other companies will move in this direction. But for me personally, it never mattered at all. Next, experience. So I did look at experience, so previous jobs that the candidates had. So if they worked for a company that I know has a strong culture, then that would definitely be a plus. And then I would also look at what experience they have with certain frameworks. And if that experience will translate to the tools that we are using internally, so it does matter. And but the most important deal-breaking thing I was checking in interviews is skills. And the first one is, can they write code? And this is absolutely a deal breaker. Even if you're hiring for a junior engineer, senior engineer, if you cannot write code, then I would recommend against hiring that person, regardless if they graduated from Ivy League or they worked for the best company in the world ever. I would recommend against. And it's pretty easy to catch this. We would do either whiteboard interviews, well, they would write programs in the whiteboard, or in some cases hands-on, write code on the computer. And the second one, but this is more for senior engineers, it would be engineering skills. So we would ask them, how would you design Facebook if you had to write a huge social network? And then we will ask follow-up questions like, what if you have 100 million people accessing it? What if you have a spike in traffic. For example, at the end of the Super Bowl, if everybody wants to post some comment about the game, etc. But if you're applying for junior and entry level engineering role, this engineering questions, they're not that important. You need to focus on writing code and having skills. Now we're going to discuss the different tracks you can take as a software engineer. So the first track, and the one that I recommend for people starting out, is the web development track. And I recommend this because there are many jobs, both locally in most cities and also remote, and also a lot of freelance work. A lot of freelance work, both locally. There are many businesses in every town that need a website or they want changes made to their website, etc. And also on online platforms. And here you have several options. The first one is to be a front-end developer. And here you would deal with the layout of different visual elements on a web page. For example, images, buttons, links, menus, navigation between pages. If you're working for a bigger company or some clients that have bigger projects, they would give you already a design and you would just implement that design. But in many cases, for small companies and small projects, you would have free reign and they won't give you any design. An example would be someone hiring you to do a website for their plumbing business, and they just tell you, I want these colors to be used, I have this logo, but otherwise you have to make things look good. So you need to have like a sense of aesthetic and be comfortable making things look good. Also related to this is the UI UX design, which is as I mentioned earlier, some companies would already give you a design, and as a UI UX designer, you would do these designs. Next, we have the backend developer. So here you would implement code that runs on the server for these websites. For example, code that maybe sends SMS messages to the customers of the business or deal with calendars, etc. And then you can do full stack development, which is all of the above options: front end, UI UX designer, backend developer. And this is a good place to starting doing full stack development, and then you will see which subpath fits better for you. If you like designing things and doing front end, then yeah, you can do UI UX and front end. Or if you're more interested in back end server work and you don't want to deal with visual layout, etc., you can just do purely back end. But it's a good place to start in full stack development. The second track we can have in here is development for clients. And by clients here I mean phones. You can have phones, tablets, let's say Roku devices, Chrome extensions, etc. There's not that much freelance work in this field, so probably you need to work for an employer here, but it is a viable path if you want to go this route. The third one would be doing data science and maybe artificial intelligence. This is good if you have a background in math, but also here there's much less work on freelancing, and you'll probably want to get into a job. And there's a pretty strong competition. There are people who have PhDs and then they do data science. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this track. And then we have, I call it like operations track. And I don't know that much about this field. You can do stuff like cybersecurity, or you can be a network engineer, or system administrator. um, development operations for cloud, etc. And I don't know much about the jobs in here. I think certifications are more important here, but there are probably other people who can give you more details on this track. Let's discuss the different options you have for learning software development skills. So learning options. And the first option, the one that requires the least amount of investment, is self-teaching using online material. There are a lot of coding tutorials on YouTube that you can watch and follow along. This channel that you are watching right now is the perfect example. You should subscribe to it immediately to get the newest content. So we have tutorials on YouTube, then there's Medium, and there are other blogs and websites that post them. And then there's more structured content in the form of courses. There are some courses on YouTube that are this giant videos you can watch. And but there's also some courses that you can purchase on different teaching platforms, I think like Udemy. And there are also independent platforms. And some courses, if they're not too expensive, I think they can absolutely be worth it. If it's under $100, $50, it absolutely can be worth it. And the next option is going to a coding bootcamp. Now, I don't know that much about coding bootcamps, which ones are good, which ones are bad. I know people who went to bootcamps and now are successful developers. And from what I heard, some of them help you with job placement, which if they do, it's a huge plus and you should consider going to a bootcamp. And the next option is getting Bachelor's of Science, probably in computer science. And I did a Bachelor's of Science. I did this Bachelor's back in Romania, and I find the program interesting. But of course, with any academic program, there's a lot of stuff that is theoretical. You won't necessarily apply it into your job, but it's interesting regardless. However, I think if you are already working in a different career and you're trying to switch to software engineering, this is probably not your best option. Probably self-teaching or bootcamp are better options. I learned throughout the years that software development is not for everybody. While it's not rocket science, some people try it out, they find it boring, and then they quit. This is not a problem, but if you're thinking of making a big investment or a life-changing decision, you should first find out if you enjoy doing this type of work. So if your plan is to quit your day job and enroll in a bootcamp, I would advise that you first go the self-teaching route for a few months. Try to take a couple of online courses and finish them to completion. And after that, you can reevaluate. You see, if you still enjoy it, then you can move on with your initial plan of joining a bootcamp. Or if you think that self-teaching works great for you, then you can continue on that path. Let's discuss the specific skills that you need to learn for the web development track. I'm going to break them in 2 stages. So in stage 1, you need to learn about the basics of the internet and of web development. So you will need to learn how the internet works. What does the browser do? What is a server? What is a DNS, etc. Then you need to learn HTML, CSS, a bit of JavaScript, not too much. And a good resource for learning this is studioweb.com. They have courses that you can purchase. I'm not affiliated with the author in any way. I don't get a cut. I just took these courses. I found them very good, and I recommend it to other people. They like them, and yeah, you can use this one or use other resources. It's perfectly fine. Then you need to learn UI, UX design. There are 2 tools here. You can learn one or the other, Adobe XD or Figma. The tools will be easy to learn. There are YouTube tutorials that you can follow along. But what is more important is to learn the design principles and then also develop like an aesthetic and be able to create clean layouts. And a good resource for this is a design course. Again, I'm not affiliated with the author. I'm taking the course right now, and I find it excellent. And he's also on YouTube. The same, you search for design course and you'll find him. And the third thing that you need to learn is some intro into CMS, content management systems. So in here, WordPress is very important to learn just the basic how to create a WordPress website starting from a theme, and then configure it, create pages, blog posts, etc., and then also host it on the internet. And then you can also look into the other commercial CMSs. You'll need to purchase a membership, I think, for them. There are Wix and Squarespace. You can do one or the other, or both, or none. Just WordPress will be fine. And a good milestone for this first stage would be to create a website. It can be create a website and publish it to the internet. So you would buy a domain and host this website somewhere. It can either be your personal website or a website for a small business. And who knows, maybe they can pay you and you'll make the first dollars in the software development. And yeah, you can either create it from scratch, or using a CMS like WordPress. And over time you will improve it, but this will be a good milestone for stage 1. For stage 2, you will need to get introduced to backend development, so code that runs on a server, and you'll need to learn PHP and MySQL. A good resource here again is studioweb.com, and this will help you do more advanced projects for WordPress. And the other thing that you need to do in stage 2 is get better at JavaScript. So JavaScript, you need to learn how to make interactive components like calculators. Let's say a mortgage calculator would be an example. And also try to start using JavaScript library. For example, jQuery is a very popular one, and it will be very helpful. And the milestone for this stage would be to write a web project that has backend code. For example, you can write a copy of Facebook where people can sign up, create a user account, and they post pictures, they see pictures on their friends' timelines, etc. And once you made this project, you can publish it in your GitHub account, you can create one, or on your personal website, and you'll have it as a portfolio. Now that you have all these skills, the question is, what do you do with them? So what are the next steps? And I'm gonna list here a few action items, and you'll need to do all of them in parallel, and also in parallel with your day job. I would advise against quitting your day job until you get like a regular software developer job aligned, or you have enough freelancing clients to provide you enough income. So the first one would be freelancing, and more specifically online freelancing. You will need to pick one platform. I personally use upwork.com. I like it, but there are other options you can try out. And the reason why this is important is that besides projects, the platform also has many jobs posted. Some of them are full-time jobs, some of them are contract jobs, some of them are part-time. And I think if you have a good track record on the platform, you have a good shot of getting these jobs, a better shot than if you would apply to the same job through a regular jobs website like Indeed.com. Because when you apply through Indeed, you don't have a track record, you have nothing to show. But for example, on Upwork, if someone has listed a job for a full-time WordPress developer, and you already have like 10 small WordPress projects, they can be like $50, $100 each. But if your clients were happy and they all gave you 5 stars, then you already stand a pretty good shot of getting that job, in my opinion. When you get started on Upwork.com or other freelancing platforms, it is very hard to get those few initial projects. I think people can get discouraged and quit because of that. But my advice is be patient, keep applying to jobs, and get creative in your sales pitches. Next, I'm going to give you a few ideas that should increase your chances of getting work. So, the first one is attach relevant portfolio projects. Let's say someone wants to add a calculator to their business website, and you already have a calculator in your portfolio, and you send it to them when you apply. I think that should increase the chances that you would get the work. That's why it's important to always add items to your portfolio and improve it all the time. Next is you need to bid low. The truth is that the first few projects you will be paid very little. Once you have a few good reviews and a track record, you can start bidding the market price. But yeah, in the beginning you will work for low prices, and you can mention in your bid. You can explain to your customers like, hey, I am bidding this very low price because I don't have any reviews, and I just want to get some initial projects under my belt and some good reviews. Next is you can give people guarantees. So let's say someone posts the project is like, hey, I want to fix problem X, and they set up the project at an hourly rate of I don't know, $40 to $60, and your bid can be something like, I can solve this problem for $60 and you pay me after I solve it. Of course, there is the chance that you won't get paid, but usually people are pretty honest on the platform, I found, and they do want to pay you. Of course, maybe there are some scams, but in the beginning, yeah, you can do that to get more work. And in the same related to this, some people post hourly projects and they don't know how long they will take. And in this case, you can bid a specific number of hours. Let's say I want a website to do this and that, and they create an hourly project, and you just say, I can do this project for 3 billable hours. I find that people in general like when they get like a fixed quote for their project. Of course, you can also do freelancing offline in your local town, and it's probably equally as hard to get that initial work. But here you have different approaches. So if you know a local business owner and you're friends with him, you can ask them if you can build their website for free, or you can also ask your friends and family if they know any businesses they are friendly with. And your initial few projects will probably be for free or for very, very little money. And after you do a good job on a few projects, hopefully they refer you to other people and you start building a clientele. The next action items on our list. So next, you need to always learn new skills. Let's say you browse Upwork.com and you see a project that says, I want to fix this in MemberPress. And then you scroll down and you see another project that's like, I want to add MemberPress to my WordPress, and you think about it like, what is this MemberPress thing? Let me look into it. So you learn MemberPress, and next time you see a project with this, you can apply to it. And related to this, you always need to improve your portfolio. The same, you can get ideas by yourself or on the internet or on Upwork.com. For example, you see a lot of work in Vue.js, and then you learn Vue.js, you make a portfolio project and you add it to your personal website. And now when there's a Vue.js project on Upwork, you can apply and attach this portfolio project to your application. And lastly, you need to, apply to jobs if that's what you want to do. If you want to be a freelancer and you think you can make it work, then yeah, you don't need to apply to jobs, but you need to do this in parallel with everything else. And also do some interview training if you see you start being called for interviews. In conclusion, my advice is don't quit your day job. Learn the basic skills first to make sure you actually enjoy working in this field. Once you did that, you can either start doing freelance work or enroll in a boot camp. And when you have a proper engineering job lined up or you have enough clients on your freelancing business, then you can do the career switch. It's not going to be easy, but also it's not impossible. If you have questions, you can ask them in the comment section below or send me a message using the contact form on my website. It will be in the video description below together with the courses I mentioned in this video. Anyway, best of luck and see you next time.